Andrew Heaney and Tommy Pham won't be here if and when the Pirates are good again. So why are they here now? This isn't just about development, it's about identity. If you're not contending, you should be evaluating. And that's next on Locked On Pirates.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now. Welcome to Locked On Pirates. I'm Gary Morgan. Today, we're packing in a bunch. Why playing veterans with no future is a dead-end street, how the Brewers keep winning while giving youth a chance, and why the Pirates need to stop waiting and start trying. It's a dead end having veteran placeholders here all the time. Playing aging veterans in a non-contending season delays development and clouds future planning. Andrew Heaney starting over Bubba Chandler and Hunter Barco makes very little sense to me. Especially since Andrew Heaney is a guy that I could make an argument there was a place for on this team. You could have kept him. I understand, like, if there wasn't a market for him or if you just didn't like anything that you could have gotten back for him. Okay, of course, don't trade him if you think there's some value there. But I don't think the value is in the rotation, especially not the way he's been pitching. Sure, you're going to get a good performance from him every once in a while, but you've got like these uncut gems in the minors that you've got to start putting some polish on, or else you're going to enter the offseason not thinking they're ready for prime time or to carry the kind of weight you need them to carry because you haven't tried it. You haven't looked. You haven't started trying to chip those rough edges off. You've decided instead to just keep rocking that same crackerjack ring that you got out of the box and handed to your wife 35 years ago. Andrew Heaney is not going to get better at this point. But Andrew Heaney has bullpen experience. He has pitched in bullpens on World Series teams. There's a place for a veteran on a team like this, but you have to be willing to allow them to get pushed. In fact, sometimes you have to go out of your way to push them out, push them aside. This team, the last thing they want to do is feel like they left any dollar value that they've spent left in that player. They've got to wring it completely dry until every nickel falls out of their pockets to make sure that they've gotten their money's worth for what they've brought in. And by the time you get to August 12th or 13th or whatever it is, whenever you're talking about, you've already gotten your money worth out of these veterans. These guys are making $4, $5, $6 million. That's over. You've gotten more than enough value out of them already. Move on. Tommy Pham gets reps over Liover Peguero and Alexander Canario all the time. And I add Liover Peguero in there because they could very much so be trying to get him at bats in the outfield. If they want him to be a super utility type player, then he needs to be playing a super utility type role. He does not need to be just the backup first baseman or the occasional, hey, I'll toss a guy in at shortstop and throw him a bone because IKF needs rested. Since July 31st, Liover Peguero has just 29 at-bats. And in that time, he's hit .310 with a 1.113 OPS. Now, a lot of those were the 4 home runs he hit on the road trip. But the fact that he's not been rewarded with like a lot more at bats after that is mind blowing to me. That doesn't make any sense. This guy has no options next year. If you want to keep him, you have to be prepared to say this is a guy that's going to be on our 26-man roster. I can't imagine that they've already made that call. I can't imagine you wouldn't want to use the rest of this year to see it. It's not like this just started. Alexander Canario has been here, well, all season. And since July 31st, he has had 9 plate appearances. 9. Why is he here if that's all the opportunity you're going to give him? And I would just say, like, you've clearly made your call on him. So why is he blocking someone else? Like, why would he be blocking? Like, we can stop complaining about like Billy Cook. He just went on the IL. But why is he getting opportunities over like a Nick York? You know? Why isn't Cam Devaney up here starting to see what that 29-year-old can do at this level? Isn't that why you brought him in? Do you really mean to tell me that next spring that's going to dictate what you do with that position? I don't understand going out and getting a guy like Cam Devaney if he's just going to sit in the minors. But then again, I don't understand bringing up a guy like Leover Peguero and never playing him. I don't understand having him on your 40-man for 4 years and never playing him. I don't understand a lot of things about the way that this team onboards players. These decisions might feel safe, but they rob the team of critical evaluation time. If the team isn't contending, the priority should shift to development. If you're not contending, you should be evaluating. In part, this team thinks they're doing this for you. Yeah. They actually believe they are serving you by having you watch veterans. They think when they're in the shape they are, you'd happily watch a couple more wins as opposed to watching growing pains. They think you have more interest in Tommy Pham, who's hitting well, contributing to this current team's win total, to the feckless amount you know it could get to, versus you seeing, oh, I don't know, name the prospect you want to see up here trying to earn themselves playing time for next year. Trying to show you, hey, there is a little bit of a future here. Hey, I could be part of the answer for you. Far too often when they do decide to give that opportunity, it's a guy like Peguero or Ji-Hwan Bae or Jack Sawinski that have already gotten countless opportunities. Jared Triolo comes to mind. It's fine to like give those guys final opportunities, but come on. You've got decisions to make here. Quit wasting time on Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. I don't care that he can handle third base. I mean, if it's a priority to you to get at bats for Jared Triolo, and you have Leover Peguero who needs at bats too, it stands to reason that you would move Triolo to third and let him get his at bats. Which, okay, I'm not even going to argue. He's a younger guy. You should be trying. But IKF, I'm sorry, I don't care if he's the best third baseman period in the system. He isn't going to be here. Move on. If you're not contending, you should be evaluating. Period. When we come back, I want to have a look at what the Brewers do. Just let's see if we can just kind of drill down on what they do differently, because one thing that they aren't different is the market size. If anything, they're smaller. If you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you had a service emergency, like a burst pipe. If the first plumber didn't answer, did you wait? Nope. You called the next one. That's why having a reliable business line is so important. And that's why you need OpenPhone. OpenPhone is the number one business phone system that helps you streamline and scale customer communication, all from an app on your phone or computer. Did you juggle two phones just to keep business and personal calls separate? OpenPhone solves that instantly. OpenPhone is offering Locked On Pirates listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/lockedonmlb. That's openphone.com/lockedonmlb. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will point them over at no extra charge. OpenPhone, no missed calls, no missed customers. August 16th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week one even kicks off, this is your moment. So take a flyer on the MVP race. Go ahead and give it to Aaron Rodgers. You know you want to, Steelers fans. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. Hey, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. Make sure you hit me with a subscribe and a like down there. And don't forget, I'm going to be recording later on this afternoon tomorrow's episode, which is all going to be about pitching science. Ask me pitching questions. Let me get those pitching questions off to Eric Minshaw. It'll be a lot of fun. Milwaukee proves that trusting young players doesn't mean sacrificing competitiveness. I think we've seen that with them over the years. They have veterans and they allow youth to pass them by. Let's just walk through something that happened with the Brewers this year that I just contend would never happen with Pittsburgh, okay? A couple things. There's a few miracles in this one example that would never happen here in Pittsburgh. The Brewers signed Rhys Hoskins to an $18 million a year deal, okay? And he hasn't been good. They traded Aaron Savali, a pitcher who wanted out because he was going to be pulled out of the starting rotation. He complained. It wasn't very good. And they traded him to the White Sox. Now, he's been okay for the White Sox. The White Sox dumped somebody that has been a problem child for them, Andrew Vaughn. Vaughn has done absolutely nothing but rocket for Milwaukee. After being in the minors, they bring him up. And he's all but benched Hoskins. It's Milwaukee's willingness to prioritize performance over salary. Like, if the Pirates, first of all, the Pirates signing a guy off the street for $18 million a year, there's miracle number one that we haven't seen yet and probably never will. Miracle number two is they go, hey, that guy that we paid $18 million, he is not playing all that well, and we need better. This guy may or may not be better. Let's get him and see. What the heck? We're dumping something that we don't really need, and they're giving us something that they don't really need, or they can't see a use for it, or they're giving up. Well, we won't give up. We'll put him into our system and see what can happen. They throw him in the minors. He does some good things. They bring him up here. They don't treat Andrew Vaughn like the same failed prospect the White Sox did. They treat him like a guy that they're taking a fresh crack at. They're going to put their own spin on. They're going to help him improve and turn him into something. And if they don't, hey, what are they out? They've still got Rhys Hoskins. They'll still use him. They'll still be underwhelmed by what he provides, but hey, they got a little bit of insurance at a position that insurance is often needed, especially Rhys Hoskins is a guy who's injury prone. He can be a very all or nothing type player. He's not a great fielder. Milwaukee in general loves being a great fielding team. They also don't panic and move heaven and earth to get him off their books at the deadline because Andrew Vaughn has shown better and we can't just be eating this $18 million. Got to recoup our losses, right? Shouldn't that be exactly how a small market team should be thinking? Nope, not Milwaukee. Not Milwaukee. Milwaukee holds on to him because they might need him. If something happens to Andrew Vaughn, wouldn't it be nice to have Rhys Hoskins there? You need a big pinch hit against a lefty. Boy, wouldn't it be nice to have Rhys Hoskins there in a playoff situation? So yeah, they've let Vaughn pass Hoskins. The Pirates would never allow that to happen just because of the money alone. And that's if they spend it in the first place, which we know they won't. Big difference, right? Then you got their development pipeline. I just want to remind people, like a few years ago, how much the contributors on today's Milwaukee team didn't look like they were contributors on this Milwaukee team. We've watched them move on from guys like Willie Adames and, Williams out of the bullpen and Hader, and we've seen them do this over and over and over and over again. They lose these big stars. Everyone tells them, "Oh man, Brewers are really going to take a hit this year. Boy, they're not going to be as good this year." We did the NL Central preview show here on Locked On, and everybody in the room, everybody has basically transferred the devil magic from the Cardinals to the Brewers, because when you look at the Brewers roster, it's really hard to see why they are what they are. But a lot of the time, that's because they're trusting somebody that hasn't done it in the league yet, but they think might. Like Sal Frelick. His AAA numbers, his last AAA numbers, were a 331 average, 11 home runs, 59 RBI, and 24 stolen bases. In his rookie season, he hit 246 with 3 home runs and 24 RBIs. And in 2025, he's one of the best fielders in baseball, one of the best outfielders in baseball. He's hitting 300 with 5 home runs, 34 RBI, and 15 stolen bases. So, Frelick was never going to turn into this gigantic big bopper of a hitter. But he could be an average hitter, right? He could hit for average. He could just be a spark plug. He could just play good defense for you. He's not a perfect player. But 2 or 3 years ago, you didn't know who Sal Frelick was. You maybe knew him just from playing the Brewers, but you didn't think this kid was going to be a potential piece, did you? In fact, I bet right now, if you're looking around the National League, it takes you a long time to get to Sal Frelick when you start coming up with a shopping list of your dream outfielders. How about Bryce Terang? And hitting AAA, 286, 13 home runs, 78 RBI, and 34 stolen bases. His rookie season, 218, 6 home runs, 34 RBI. How often Have you seen something like that and the Pirates just completely quit on a guy? Not the Brewers. Not the Brewers. They keep working with him. And this year, 278 average, 6 home runs, 39 RBI, 18 stolen bases. That's a decent player with a ton of speed, holding down a leadoff spot for your team. How about Garrett Mitchell? He's been hurt a lot this year, but in AAA, 343 average in 20 games. His rookie season, 311 average in 2022. Then he dropped all the way to 246 in 2023. Injuries again have really, really hurt him. And he's only hitting 206. Will they be done with him, or do we think maybe we'll see Garrett Mitchell back next year? History tells me the Milwaukee Brewers will bring him back next year. Milwaukee doesn't wait for perfect prospects. They develop them in real time. They surround youth with a competitive core, and it allows for growth without tanking. The Brewers don't just draft well. They trust their youth, and they win while they're doing it. They're not afraid to push veterans out of the way no matter what they cost. They're not afraid to try youngsters at spots that are important and let them work. They don't go too quick on the trigger with giving up on people, and they don't try too long to turn somebody who isn't going to turn into something. The Brewers are a brilliant organization. They really are. More impressive than the Rays, if you ask me. They managed to keep a lot of their players and continue to do this. It's not easy to do. Milwaukee Brewers are a team that small markets like the Pirates should be modeling. And I mean like really digging in, like stealing executives from them modeling. Get whoever Matt Arnold's assistant is and claw and scratch and pry and get his ass out of that organization and into yours. They know what they're doing. And it starts from the top down. It's a philosophy. You put on that Brewers jersey, you were supposed to help. I want to talk a little bit about the Pirates' identity crisis here that I think has been caused by a lot of this stuff. Today's episode is brought to you by Gameday Hue, and so is this hat I'm wearing. For Pirates fans like me, this one hits the mark. Gameday Hue makes clean, no logo gear with team-inspired colorways for every pro and college fan base. It's all about letting your colors speak for you. No giant logos, just versatile style that works on game day, on the course, or anywhere in between. I love rocking it on the course. It's subtle. It keeps people from asking me Pirates questions and interrupting my game and my break from covering the Pirates. And it's important to me. I also love their gloves. I love them so much. It's actually in my bag instead of here to show you, but beautiful. And they split them up by split shade. They're made for the golf course. They're the perfect gift for a fan who has everything. Right now, you can get 15% off with code MLB15 at GamedayHue.com. That's GamedayHue.com. The code even stacks on bundle deals, so now's the time to load up. Let your colors talk because colors speak louder than words. That's GamedayHue.com, code MLB15. Hey, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. Listen, there is nothing wrong with signing veterans. There's not. Unless they're blocking prospects, have no future here. And even if they're performing to a degree, you have got to know better. Signing vets can stabilize a roster, but when they're not even league average, it's counterproductive. You need to sign veterans in a different way than the Pirates do, okay? They tend to sign veterans that might have a couple death rattles in them. They might have a little bit of existing nerves that keep them moving long after their death. They sign guys that they hope they can fix. Now, I just talked about the Brewers doing that with somebody like Andrew Vaughn. But Andrew Vaughn is a younger player. There's actually some upside there if you get through to him. He's got a lot of team control left. He plays a position they needed to beef up, at least closer to the minors or to the majors. And they did a good job identifying that player. But think about the situation the Pittsburgh Pirates have been in for the better part of this decade. They've needed a first baseman. And it has been a few years where the White Sox have basically thought to themselves, Andrew Vaughn's never going to figure it out. It just isn't going to happen here. The Pirates never thought to go and get a player like that. Pirates never thought something like that could be done. They traded Aaron Savali for him. It isn't like they traded something great. Pirates could have easily traded somebody. Heck, they certainly have not gotten the return out of Quinn Priester that the Brewers got out of Aaron Savali. That's pretty sad, actually. Then again, maybe the Pirates would have gotten some kind of return out of that Quinn Priester deal if only they'd actually play the player that they got back in Nick York. We'll never know. We'll never know. We know he's a decent AAA player. That's about as far as they'll allow us to go. Blocking prospects with underperforming veterans signals indecision and a fear of failure. This team is so afraid to spend money, so afraid to spend money that ends up rotting or not being used or not being valuable. It's why they're so afraid to extend guys beyond a certain point. It's why they're so afraid to sign 2-year contracts because, and this really should be probably the biggest indictment of the way they approach bringing in veterans. First, if you're signing guys to 1-year contracts right away, that's a type. Most players that are worth something aren't taking a 1-year contract. Now, you want to talk about relievers. Okay, relievers are different. They understand that's the situation with relievers. Starting pitchers, sometimes you can get them on a prove-it contract. Like, hey, we've seen what you've done in the past. We think there's something there. Come on in, be in our rotation, help us out, and you're going to end up finding a better landing spot next year. You can find opportunities like that. The Pirates have done it with lefties year after year after year in the rotation, right? Let's talk about something they are good at, identifying veteran pitchers to come in and help their rotation. They've done a good job with that for the most part. Rich Hill was probably the worst swing they took as far as bringing in a lefty veteran. They've done a good job there. But that doesn't help change the status of that player. That is a player that's going to accept that. If you're not willing to sign multi-year contracts for veterans, you're only going to ever get veterans at a certain level. And as soon as they're here, the expectation is going to be that they're traded at the deadline for one of two reasons. Either your team never got to the point where they didn't have to sell, or B, you had prospects overtake them and now you want to dump them off of the roster. Well, the Pirates can't get to either of those because, one, they don't sign veterans that are good enough to ensure that there's a market for them. And B, they never give their prospects an opportunity to pass them up. Think about how much of this season we spent talking about Andrew Heaney being the eventual guy that got shipped off of this rotation to make room for Bubba Chandler. Oh, that'll be when Bubba gets caught up, whenever they trade Andrew Heaney. Sooner the better, some of us would say, especially me. Well, they never traded him. And they traded Bailey Falter to make room. And they're not using it. It's such a laughable front office. The things they do don't only just not make sense. They don't even make sense in relation to their own backyard. How can you play a team like Milwaukee and just watch what they've done in the exact same time frame as Ben Cherington has been here? Using many of the same exact resources. They're smarter about making trades. I won't say they draft better, because I think the Pirates draft quite well. They just don't develop them. And more than anything, they don't let them graduate. They don't let them graduate. If the Pirates ran a high school, they would have 7,500 students in senior year, because they'd all be retaking it over and over again. You'd never have a graduation ceremony that had more than like 10, 15 students in it, because they're waiting for perfection. You don't get that sheepskin unless your alma mater tells you that you are in the top of the class. The Pirates wait for undeniable proof that it's time to call somebody up and give them a shot. That's why Paul Skeens is so incredible. He's never given them so much as a hint of a misstep. And even him, they've mismanaged to the point where it's confusing as to whether they actually want to just let him loose, or they're still trying to pretend that he's on some kind of rookie restraint. This is a guy that is an all-world pitcher. He got here without your help, largely. You didn't have to train him. You didn't have to develop him. You didn't have to teach him. You would just say, get out of the way and let him do it, right? If they do things that are questionable with a guy like Paul Skeens, how am I to expect they're not going to do things questionable with a guy like Connor Griffin? This team doesn't know better. Mostly because they're so inwardly focused on how brilliant they are, they forget every once in a while to look in the other dugout. Just watch what these other teams do. That's all I got for you today. That was a tough game to watch last night. And not necessarily because of the score, but just because it was painfully apparent that in every facet of baseball, the Milwaukee Brewers were better. Not just that they played better last night, but just that they were better prepared, more ready, more understanding of the situation and what it called for, knowing what to do to certain pitchers. Brilliant to watch, actually. Let's go Bucks.